So, The Naked Gun is back. I guess no franchise is safe anymore. If it's a title people recognize, it's getting remade. Unlike a lot of other remakes out there right now, though, the timing actually feels right for this one. The whole spoof movie genre has kind of been in hibernation recently. Once upon a time, you couldn't get away from it, but then the Scary Movie series pretty much killed it dead and then spent several movies sodomizing its corpse. Meet the Spartans was a thing, unfortunately, and, well, I think the novelty had worn off at that point. Fast forward a few years though, we've had a nice long break from it, and revisiting it doesn't feel like a too soon scenario anymore. And also, when was the last time we had a really great, hysterical, bust-a-gut laughing comedy? The last one I can remember is probably Tropic Thunder. It's been a while, and considering how depressing most of our entertainment has been lately, not to mention all the crap going on in the real world, I don't know about you guys, but I could really do with a good laugh right now. Sure, these days it's mostly relevant for that Leslie Nielsen nothing to see here meme, but seriously, if you haven't seen those original films, what is wrong with you? They're some of the funniest f***ing movies ever made, so if this new movie could recapture that lightning in a bottle, sign me up. There were a few things about this that gave me pause though. First was Liam Neeson. Probably not the first name I'm gonna think of when casting a comedy. Yeah, he was funny in that cameo he did in Ted 2, but that was made by Seth MacFarlane, one of the very few people left in show business who knows how to get a laugh. And MacFarlane was a producer on this movie, but that doesn't necessarily mean he had much to do with it. And second, let's be honest, comedy kinda sucks right now. List the people in Hollywood today who are genuinely, consistently, intentionally funny. I guarantee you can count them on your fingers. So rebooting The Naked Gun? Risky, but I think it could fill a big void there if it's good. So what's the verdict? It's alright. Yeah, I chuckled pretty regularly. Uh-oh, he's damning it with faint praise. You know what that means. Kind of, sort of, but let's back up for a minute. One of the best things this movie has going for it is that it's one of these reboots that really loves the original. The style of humor is mostly the same. They go out of their way to do nods and homages to those movies whenever they can. And even though not all of those jokes land, they are endearing, and it had me rooting for them to stick the landing. And I guess it's not technically a reboot because we're following the son of Leslie Nielsen's character, Frank Drebin Jr., and Liam Neeson put any concerns I had to rest pretty quickly. He's good here. Neeson plays the character as this really deadpan, hard-boiled guy, still dim-witted, but more like a character who thinks he's in a serious cop movie and doesn't realize that he's actually in a comedy, which is why you laugh when all the wacky stuff happens to him. You put a comedic actor in this role, and it doesn't work. Neeson playing it seriously is what makes it funny. So, yeah, it feels weird to say, but the guy who once played Oscar Schindler does really well for himself in this ridiculous spoof comedy. When the movie works, it's usually because of him. If you give Neeson funny material, he can get a laugh. Not all of it is funny though, and here's where its love for the original works in its favor, because this movie is at its best when it's aping the original Naked Gun movies. The jokes that feel like they could have been done back then are the ones that tend to land the best. The sight gags are on point, there's a ton of those, and I'd say a good 80% of them work. Some of them feel like they were lifted right out of the Leslie Nielsen films, and that's a good thing. The problems begin when they break from that formula. This movie is kind of trying to do three things at once. Give the original Naked Gun the sequel remake treatment and mimicking that style of comedy, spoof cop movies and action movies, and something else that doesn't fit into either category, and I'm not sure if anyone who worked on this thing ever figured out what that was. It has the traditional Naked Gun humor and the typical spoof jokes you expect in something like this, but there's also gags that are very random and awkward and don't fit with anything else here, and left me with no idea what they were going for. Like, they were definitely things the filmmakers thought were funny, and I could not tell you why. For example, there's a recurring bit about how the police chief's husband is always asleep. Don't wake him up. That would be bad. Okay. But what's the joke? He's sleeping. Why is that funny? Is there a punchline here somewhere? Are they spoofing something I'm not aware of? I don't know. And then there's other gags about a snowman and those claw machines you find in old school arcades. There's also a big joke about an owl that comes up at a critical moment, and I'm not sure why that even seemed funny to them on the page when they wrote it. Again, very out of left field stuff. I don't know what the punchline is supposed to be here, or if there even is one for any of these jokes. It was all just so weird. Where did it come from? Why is it supposed to be funny? If they were spoofing or referencing something with all that stuff, beats me what it could have been. And I guess that goes back to very few people in show business knowing what's funny anymore, and the absolute albatross around the neck of the comedy genre commonly known as LOL so random. So I think the trick here is that Liam Neeson is funny, and he can make a joke work when the joke is good, but the jokes are inconsistent because I'm not sure the filmmakers are that funny. I think if Seth MacFarlane had done a pass on the script, that would have helped a lot to iron these things out. As is, he's only credited as a producer, so if he did any work on the script, my guess is it wasn't much. So not every joke in the movie works, but the good news is the jokes are so rapid fire and non-stop that even if half of them don't get a laugh, odds are there's something in the scene that will. And that's kind of how it was for me. There are plenty of jokes that fall flat, but there's so damn many of them and they're going by so quickly that you never really have time to dwell in the bad ones before a good one comes along and you're laughing again. There's spoof jokes, raunchy jokes, slapstick jokes. Practically every other line in this movie is trying to set up a gag of some kind. The margin for error was admittedly pretty big, but the effort was definitely there. Also, they get points for avoiding the insufferable modern comedy trope of having motor mouth characters whose only purpose is to never, ever, ever shut up. There's nothing like that in this movie. Thank you. So I wouldn't say that The Naked Gun 2025 is so hysterical it made my sides hurt or anything, but it is funny. It's not a comedic masterpiece, but it's genuine, their hearts were in the right place, and I enjoyed myself. And considering humor is becoming a bit of a lost art in show business these days, that's better than I was expecting. It felt like a charming throwback to those old school comedies made in an era when you could get away with a lot of stuff that you're not really allowed to do anymore. I think it falters when it's trying to do its own thing, but hey, there's no politics, no annoying shit, and the only stupid stuff is in there intentionally in the hopes that it might be entertaining for a change. Imagine that. And that's about it, really. A bit of a shorter review than usual here, but there really isn't a whole lot to say. I don't think it's gonna fill the void left by the riotous comedies we've gotten in the past, but this was the most a movie has made me laugh in a minute, so I think I'll take what I can get. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow all of my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And YouTube just made it a lot harder to get traction on these videos. Engagement doesn't count anymore unless you're interactive. So if you want to support the channel, it's more important than ever for you to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that like button, leave a comment, leave a super thanks if you're so inclined, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and people are getting unsubbed without their knowledge all the time, so make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to choke on the smell of fear is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.